You feel overwhelmed by deadlines, even after pulling all-nighters to catch up. What if you could do less work during the semester, but get higher grades? In this video, I'll share 5 strategic habits used by top-performing students that will transform your academic life from day one. I discovered this system when I went from barely passing to graduating with honors. I realized most students treat the start of the semester like a vacation, only to panic in week 4. The problem is, reactive studying creates stress, not success. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a proactive routine that keeps you ahead for months. Let's dive in. Number 1. The syllabus audit. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most students glance at the syllabus and shove it in their bag. That is a massive mistake. The syllabus audit is the process of extracting every single deadline, exam date, and major assignment from your course outlines and placing them into one master calendar before classes even fully begin. It's not just reading, it's data extraction. Why does this work? Research on cognitive load theory shows that your brain performs poorly when it's trying to remember when to do things instead of how to do them. By externalizing these dates, you free up mental RAM. Japanese productivity experts call this visualizing the invisible. When you see the entire semester's workload laid out, your brain stops panicking about the unknown and starts planning for the known. It shifts you from a state of anxiety to a state of control. Here is how to apply it. First, gather every syllabus for your classes. Second, open a digital calendar or buy a large physical planner. Third, input every single due date. But here is the key. Backdate every major assignment by 3 days. If the essay is due Friday, mark it due Tuesday. This creates a buffer zone. For instance, instead of rushing to submit at 11:59 p.m., you have 3 days to review, edit, or handle emergencies. Avoid the mistake of only marking exams. Mark the small quizzes too. They add up. But that's not all. Knowing when things are due is useless if you don't know what matters most. This brings me to the next secret. Number 2. The 80-20 grade mapping. This next one is crucial. Most students treat every assignment as equally important. They spend 5 hours on a 1% participation quiz and 2 hours on a 30% final project. Grade mapping is identifying which tasks yield the highest return on investment for your final grade. You're looking for the 20% of efforts that produce 80% of the results. Why it works. This is based on the Pareto principle, a concept widely used in economics and business. In academia, not all points are created equal. Psychologically, this reduces decision fatigue. When you know exactly where your focus should go, you stop wasting energy on low-value tasks. Top students don't work harder. They work smarter by aligning their effort with the weight of the assessment. How to apply. First, look at your syllabus grading breakdown. Highlight any assignment worth more than 10% of your grade. These are your high-value targets. Second, categorize remaining tasks into maintenance and ignore. Third, allocate your study time proportionally. For instance, if the midterm is 40% of your grade, it should get 40% of your study energy. Don't spend 3 hours formatting a bibliography for a 5% paper. Perfect the content for the 30% essay instead. But wait, there's more to this. Knowing what to study is half the battle. The other half is stopping yourself from burning out before midterms. Number 3. The energy budgeting system. Most people don't know this, but time management is actually energy management. You can have 10 free hours, but if you're mentally exhausted, you'll achieve nothing. Energy budgeting is treating your daily mental focus like a bank account. You have a limited amount of deep work currency each day, and you must spend it wisely. Why it works. Neuroscience tells us that the prefrontal cortex, responsible for complex thinking, has limited glucose resources. Studies on ultradian rhythms show we can only focus intensely for about 90 minutes before needing a reset. If you try to push through, your efficiency drops off a cliff. By budgeting your energy, you align your hardest tasks with your peak biological times, ensuring high-quality output without burnout. How to apply. First, identify your peak hours. Are you a morning lark or a night owl? Track your energy for 3 days. Second, schedule your high-value targets during these peak windows. Third, protect these blocks fiercely. No phone, no social media. For example, if your peak is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., do not use that time for email or organizing notes. Use it for writing or problem solving. Save low-energy tasks like laundry or replying to emails for your afternoon slump. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful. What happens when you actually sit down to study? Most people do it wrong. Number 4. The active recall protocol. I'll explain exactly how to do this right now, because this is where most students lose points. Passive reading is a trap. The active recall protocol is a study method where you test yourself on material before you feel ready, rather than rereading notes repeatedly. It forces your brain to retrieve information, strengthening neural pathways. Why it works. Cognitive science refers to this as the testing effect. Research from Washington University found that students who tested themselves retained 50% more information than those who just reread. Rereading creates the illusion of competence. You recognize the text, so you think you know it. But recognition is not recall. Active recall builds durable memory structures that survive the pressure of an exam room. How to apply. First, after a lecture, close your notebook. Write down everything you remember without looking. Second, use flashcards, but don't flip them until you've spoken the answer aloud. Third, teach the concept to an imaginary audience. If you stumble, that's your gap. Go back to the source. For instance, instead of highlighting a textbook paragraph, cover it and ask, what was the main argument here? Avoid the mistake of passive highlighting. It feels productive, but achieves little. There's a scientific reason for this, and it's fascinating. But even the best studying fails if your environment fights against you. Number 5. The friction-free environment design. You've already watched this far, so let me share the final piece of the puzzle. Willpower is overrated. Design is underrated. Friction-free environment design is the practice of altering your physical and digital space to make good habits easy and bad habits hard. You are removing the need for self-control. Why it works. Behavioral psychology shows that humans follow the path of least resistance. Every distraction, your phone, a messy desk, open browser tabs, adds friction to your focus. By increasing friction for distractions and decreasing friction for studying, you automate discipline. You don't need to be strong, you just need to be smart about your setup. How to apply. First, Create a study-only zone. Never eat or game there. Your brain will associate that spot with focus. Second, use website blockers during peak hours. Apps like Freedom or Cold Turkey can lock you out of social media.